All right. All right. I think we're going now. I think we're live. Let me get the disclaimers out of the way. We'll get right into it. So, again, this is a weekly live broadcast, usually Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time. This is what we're doing, live on the channel. Sometimes things get in the way. Last week, I wasn't able to make it. I had a bunch of work stuff come up. And, I think it was 2 weeks before that, same kind of thing. But usually on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock Central, this is where I'm at. I haven't been good at answering comments lately. So if you have a good pressing question or something you need help with, getting into the live broadcast is a good way to do that, because I do my best to answer all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. Anyway, you get the idea. So what I would say is, just be polite, be friendly, don't start cussing at us. Don't call anybody names. Don't be hateful with anybody or any of that kind of stuff. We can have differences of opinions. It doesn't matter. I always enjoy a good debate, but we need to be polite and friendly about it anyway. We can all be friends, even if we do have a difference of opinion on things. So I think that's about it as far as the disclaimers go. Other than that, it's just pretty much ask me anything. Don't spam us with comments. If you ask a question and you see me answer a question that came after yours, then go ahead and ask it again, because sometimes I do miss one or two here or there. But I do my best to respond to all of them, unless you guys are talking to each other. So, all right, let's get into it. 12 gauge, good to see you. Says, hey, Chris everybody from Mountain View, Arkansas. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. I am. I hope you are as well. Boris, good to see you. Hello to you. Solomon, I had a hard time reading your name for some reason, from Illinois. And Jesse Mills says, good evening, everyone listening in tonight while getting rabbits ready to take to auction. Well, good luck at the auction. Hope it goes well. And who we got here from Shaduma, I think it is. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Says hello from Nova Scotia. That's a ways away. Emergency prep guy from Iceberg, Idaho. Rexburg, actually, right? But yeah, it feels like an iceberg. It's kind of chilly out today, too. It's been cold the last 2 days. And then we're supposed to get some pretty nice weather going into the weekend, warm up a little bit. Hello to you, James. Good to see you, too. Thanks for joining tonight. And Root Hog or Die from West Virginia. Good to see you, too. Hang on, got a text coming in. Let's make sure it's not anything urgent. It is not. It can wait. And 160-acre homestead from Minnesota says, welcome back. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it last week. Just had some stuff come up from work. And, sometimes work gets in the way. Sometimes just things in life get in the way. And last week it was work. But we're all good tonight. So, hey, Whiskey Tango Farms, Brandon, good to see you. And Little Ridge Farm, hello to you too. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Who's that? Jamming Mike and Kenneth, good to see you guys. Brandon wants to know from Whiskey Tango Farm, says, good evening, Chris and everyone. How are the plants going? Well, they're doing pretty good. The ones that, I posted the video Monday, I planted all that stuff on Sunday, and the ones right back here in the Arrow Garden that I'm starting up, they're just almost starting to sprout. I mean, you can look down in there because there's no dirt. You can look down in there and see the seeds, and they're splitting open and start to send out some little shoots. So I think maybe by tomorrow I'll have some sprouts coming up. Good evening to see. Good to see you, Marty. And I haven't checked in the greenhouse in the last 2 days. I'd be surprised if anything sprouted out there yet. It's been awful cold, but you never know. Maybe. We'll see. Western Man says, hey, love the Quail vids. Great for me being a noob. Well, hey, thanks for watching them. I'm glad you're finding them helpful. That's why I put them out there. Do my best to try to help people out. I need to get better at answering the comments. I've been really bad about that for actually quite a while now. I have no excuse. I've just got so many things going on, and that's kind of one of those things that I just don't have. I used to do it first thing in the morning. I'd get up and I'd come in and I'd answer comments for about an hour. But now I've got so much things going on with work that a lot of times I'm doing work first thing in the morning instead. But I'll do my best to get back into that sometime soon, hopefully. Mark, good to see you. And G. Michael says, it's all good, Chris. We know life happens, and welcome anytime you take the time to help us learn. Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Good evening to you, Holly. Let's see. 160-acre homestead says, I'm buying a couple of quick tick grow houses. How do they hold up? Sturdy? Any advice or suggestions? So far, it's holding up pretty well. The only things the things I would say is make sure that you probably saw my video on it. Make sure you tie it down really good. I don't know if you noticed, if you watched the video this weekend, I did make one mistake on it. I put a bunch of stakes around the outside and did put some paracord over it, kind of crisscrossed it over and then back and forth the other way. But I used one piece of paracord to crisscross over and then another one to crisscross over the other way. That was a mistake because we had a big windstorm coming. It was about a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and it ended up pulling up one of the stakes. And when one of the stakes pulled up, the whole thing was loose because it was one rope tying it all the way across, if that makes sense. So I went back through and drove some more stakes in the ground and cut the paracord down to where it's just one strand going over, then one strand going over, and then one strand, so it's individual pieces of paracord tying it off. So if I lose one stake, I don't lose a whole, section of the paracord to hold it down. Excuse me. What was I going to say about it? Oh, the other thing is, make sure you have something good and heavy to lay around on the outside of it to hold that down. Because that, you don't want the wind blowing up underneath there and pulling it up. But other than that, I mean, it's held up pretty well so far. No big issues. Got it, because when it did blow when the wind was blowing real hard and it pulled one of those stakes up, the paracord all loosened up, and then it did pull the sides out from underneath the stuff I had weighted on the edges. Bricks are really probably your best bet. If you have cinder blocks, that would be great. I did lay a bunch of logs and things down one side of it, cut wood, and it's not quite heavy enough, I don't think, and it's round too, so it kind of rolls a little bit. So whenever the wind, did pull that stake up, it pulled that side out from underneath all the weights. I had to pull it back down, re-weight it down. But it really wasn't that big of a deal, and so far it hadn't happened again. So, so far we're doing all right. We've had, since I tied it all back down, got my paracord in single strands, drove more stakes, and, re-weighted the side down. We've had 30-mile-an-hour winds and no issues so far. So it's doing all right. Root Hog says, we have beets, kohlrabi, kohlrabi. I can't ever say that exactly right. Peas and Swiss chard coming up. Nice. I'm going to be probably planting peas in the next week, maybe. I always wait till about first, maybe second week of April sometimes to do that. But I think, first week of April is going to be okay, and I'm going to get them planted. Winston, there we go, says, good evening, all. Greetings from Suriname. I don't know if I got it right now. South America. South America. There we go. Had a great lunch today with fresh boiled quail eggs. Nice. I don't have any eggs coming in right now because I don't have any lights on the quail. I just kind of let them go this year. Just go dormant and then pick back up naturally. We'll see. The roosters are starting to crow. I mean, they're crowing, so it won't be long. We'll probably start getting some eggs pretty quick. And Three Stone Homestead, good to see you. Brandon from Whiskey Tango Farm says, did you get your rabbits lined up yet? No, I don't have new rabbits yet. I think I'm going to have to change my plans on that because I did have, I was looking for Tamucks. I found a couple in different places, opposite ends of me, of course. One's up near St. Louis, so it's about a 3-hour drive, and another one in Oklahoma, which is about a 2.5 hour drive. So the problem I have is I can't get away for, a whole day. I mean, that's by the time I drive there and sit there and talk to the person for an hour and then drive home, I'm looking at 6-7 hours in. I mean, that's a whole day basically. And I can't get away for a whole day to go pick up rabbits. I had my cousin's wedding last weekend I was in. There's just too much going on the weekends. And I work all during the week. So I just haven't been able to get away. So I think I'm going to change my plans a little bit. I was looking for Tamucks, but I think I'm going to, if I can find some good pedigree rabbits, New Zealand's, maybe Californians, if I can find them, silver foxes, even something like that. If I can find some good ones here, a little bit closer, I may go ahead and go with those. G. Michael says, question, have you ever looked into using a germination chamber to start your seeds? I'm not sure exactly what a germination chamber is, but it sounds like, let me look it up and see. Let's see what it looks like. So, no, I have never looked into that exactly. And I don't know if there's a specific one you have in mind, because what I'm finding when I look up germination chamber, it looks like a whole bunch of basically just big, like almost like bigger, I don't know, little greenhouse type things. So I do start them in a lot of times in trays with a humidity dome over the top of them. I don't know if that'd be any different than a germination chamber. I don't know exactly what that does, but so I'm not real familiar with that. No, I've never looked into that. I've never used heat mats to start seeds. I've never found that necessary. I know that that's one of the things that a lot of people, when you're watching them, they'll talk about getting heat mats to heat up your seeds. I've never found that necessary to do. So it's never something that I've done. But again, the only seeds I really start indoor are tomatoes and peppers and some squash, but that'll be a little bit later. I'm not ready to start that yet. It gets so big so fast. But just those couple of things is the only things I really start indoors. I have a long enough growing season that the other things I grow, which is, primarily like green beans and peas and cucumbers and what else? Okra, all that stuff. I just started outside. A lot of those things don't really do well transplanted anyway, and they grow fast enough that I don't need to get them started early. I don't need to get the jump on the season. Tomatoes and peppers take a long time to mature, and that's why I start them early. All right. Three Stone Homestead says, just got my rabbits bred for the first time. How many times should I check on the kits when they kindle? How many times, huh? Well, that's a good question. When they do kindle, you want to check on them just as soon as you can after she's done, just to make sure you didn't lose any during that process, and you can get them cleaned up and get them out of there if you did. Other than that, I usually check on them at least once a day for the first week and a half, and then then you can spread it out a little bit once every other day or something like that. You don't have to worry about the mother abandoning them. You can go check on them as often as you want to. I just do it probably once, twice a day. I usually check them in the morning, check them in the evening for the first week. And then after that, I may spread it out a little bit. I'm usually still checking on them pretty much every day for the first probably 10 days until they're, got their eyes open, they're moving around a little bit. And then I kind of lay off of that a little bit, but it wouldn't hurt to check them every day, at that point either, just to make sure. Really the only thing you're looking for is just to make sure you didn't lose any, make sure none of them died, and you don't just leave them in the nest box. You get them cleaned out if they did. And Root Hog says, we also have a crop of bunnies to grow out. That's a good problem to have, isn't it? So Brandon says, we have a lot to get ready for in the next couple of weeks. We need to prepare the cornfield for planting. Corn will go in first, second week of April. Seems early to put in the corn, actually. Early to me to put in corn. I'm probably going to grow some corn this year. I don't grow it every year, but I probably will grow some this year, but I won't start that until it'll be probably early May before I start that myself. But hey, I'm not telling you not to do it. It just seems early to me. I know you're way up there north in Wisconsin. I would think it would be still pretty chilly to start corn. Holly Brooks says, I know quail need 14 hours of sunlight or artificial light. I didn't provide them with that artificial light this winter, so they stopped laying. How long before they start laying again with 14 hours of light? Usually about 2 weeks. You start putting light on them on a regular basis. Give them about 2 weeks, and they'll start laying again. They might be a little sporadic at first, where you'll get a couple of eggs and then maybe nothing for a day, but it won't take them long. They'll pick up pretty quick. So you're looking at maybe, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks at the most. Let's see. Brandon says, we can always get you some silver fox rabbits. Yeah, it's just you're a long way away, way up there in Wisconsin. And I don't have time to drive all the way to Wisconsin, but I appreciate that. That would be nice. If you guys ever, make a trip down to Southwest Missouri, then let me know and we'll work something out. But that's a long way to go, especially with gas prices the way they are right now. Emergency Prep Guy says, I let my quail rest from laying this winter. I put the lights on them, and it took about 9 days for the lights before they started laying. Surprised me. I thought they would start sooner. No, that sounds about right. I said about 2 weeks. That's actually a little sooner than 2 weeks. So congratulations there. All right. Amanda says, hey, do quail always need to be fully covered with a tarp when it rains? If they have a small tin roof on a galvanized wire cage, how often should they get off the wire in play sand? No, you don't have to cover the entire cage. If they have a place where they can get out of the weather, that's all you need. Hang on. I think this is a work call. Give me just 1 second. This is Chris. No, it was not a work call, so don't have to worry about that. It was says thank you for choosing Costco. Some kind of pre-recorded message. I don't even have a Costco here, so I don't know where they're coming from. But anyway, no, you don't have to cover the entire thing with the tarp all the time when it rains. You can just, as long as they have a place they can get out of the weather, that they're going to be fine. You don't have to worry about it. If you see my cages, half of it's pretty open, and my roof sits, a good couple of feet above, so it's definitely not protected from the rain on that side. The part with the sand in it is closed in, covered, and protected from the rain. As long as they can get in there, get out of the wind, get out of the rain, that's all they need as far as protection goes. As far as how often do they need to get off the wire and onto the placement, they don't have to get off the wire at all. They can do fine on wire. I think it's a good idea to provide them with some way to get off the wire in case they are having some kind of problem with their foot, or they want to get off the wire. Mine spend, about half of mine spend most of their time in the sandbox, and about half of them spend most of their time out on the open wire. So I think it kind of depends on the individual bird, but it's not something you absolutely have to do. Root Hog says, I think a good idea to can as much as you can this year. Yeah, for sure. It's always a good idea to can as much as you can. I mean, that sounds funny, doesn't it? But preserve as much as you can, just because you never know. You never know what's going to go on. You may lose a job. Who knows? So it's always good to have the extra stuff on hand when you need it. I need to use up some of mine. I've got some still, not so much the, excuse me, not so much the tomatoes and things like that are in the cupboard, because we got some time before those are going to be ready. But I've still got some chicken in the freezer, and it's just about time to get some meat chickens. So I need to clear out space. I've got probably about 5 or 6 of them left. We didn't do as good of a job of eating them as we should have. So we got to clear some space out for the new flock that's going to be coming in here in a couple of weeks or maybe a month. All right, 160-acre homestead says, Sawyer Ridge Farm on YouTube in Oklahoma has a lot of good pedigree meat rabbits, silver foxes, and New Zealands. I'm going to have to look them up then. What is that called again? Sawyer Ridge Farm. Let's check them out. Sawyer Ridge Farm. Where are they located in Utah or in Oklahoma? What part of Oklahoma? We'll see. It says northeast Oklahoma, so that may not be too far from me. We'll see. It says the foothills of the Ozark Mountains in northeast Oklahoma. Where is that? I'm trying to find, I don't see. I'll do it later. I'll leave it up here and look at it. But northeast Oklahoma, let's see. Give me 1 second here. It should be on. So thanks for the suggestion there. I'll look into them a little bit more. To see you. And Keith says, hey, Chris, 25 meat chickens from Myers. They're not hatching until April 11th. Was wondering if you had a roost in your chicken tractor and if you had a coop as well. No, I don't. No, I don't have a roost or anything like that in there. Basically, now, if you look at my chicken tractor that I use for the meat chickens, they're only in there for 6 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, because they're about 3 weeks usually old before they go out from the brooder into the chicken tractor. So they're not there for very long. But half of it is pretty much, all wire. It's got a roof over the entire thing, but half of it is wire on the sides, and the other half has got sheet metal around it, so they can get back in there to get out of the rain, the weather, whatever. But I don't have a roost or anything like that in there for them. I don't know. You're talking meat chickens, you're talking like Cornish cross or something like that. I don't know that they'd even use a roost. They get pretty big pretty fast, and they pretty much are just interested in eating. That's it. So I don't know that they'd even use one, but it's not necessary. You don't need it. Will Anka says, hey, man, I just bought some Celadon eggs. Do they grow as big as the normal Coturnix quail? It depends on what breed. Any breed of, well, I shouldn't say breed. Any, what do you call it? Any of the Coturnix quail could be a Celadon quail. You can have jumbo meat makers that lay Celadon eggs. Celadon's just a gene that causes them to lay a blue egg. That's all it is. So, it just kind of depends on what kind of quail they are. If they're a jumbo bird, then they're going to grow just as big as any other jumbo bird. So when you said Celadon, I don't know what kind of Celadon eggs you got. It's hard for me to answer that for you exactly. But yeah, if they're jumbos, they're going to be jumbos. You won't be able to tell the difference between a Celadon bird and a non-Celadon bird with, when you're looking at them. They look like just like any other quail. I got something on me. I think it's part of my skin. But anyway, distracted me for a minute. Katrina says, people render pig, cow, and chicken fat. Does anybody render rabbit fat? When I processed our first batch, I noticed a lot of fat, especially by the kidneys. Would this be like a pig leaf lard? I don't really know, honestly. I don't know. Rabbit fat just to me doesn't have good flavor. When I've left it, a lot of fat on the meat, it doesn't have good flavor like you're used to with like chicken or pork or any of those kinds of things. I may be completely wrong, but I don't know that it would work really that well. And I haven't tried, so I can't answer that one for you. Root hog, let's see. I have a proven Flemish giant doe that won't lift. Any suggestions? I would get a different rabbit if it was me, because I don't like Flemish giants, but that's not your question. So, yeah, that's a pretty common issue with any rabbit. That your does just tend to kind of be stubborn and not want to lift, especially first-time moms. You said this one's a proven one, so usually it just takes some persistence, just takes some time. There are a couple of things you can do. Persistence is one of the first things I do. I usually put the doe in with the buck, leave her in there for 15 minutes or so, take her out, try again that evening, try again the next morning, try again the next evening, try again the next morning. Usually after about 4 or 5 tries, she'll go ahead and lift for the buck. It just seems to take her some time to get used to them and all. Now, if that doesn't work, there is another method that people swear by that I have never had to try, but don't know why it would work. So many people talk about it. It's got to work. That put her in a pet carrier, put them in your car, drive her around the block a couple of times, bring her back, put her in with the buck. I don't know why that would work, but like I said, so many people swear by it that there's got to be something to it. Are my hands, I just noticed when I move my hands, it's kind of wet, flickery. I may have my shutter speed off a little bit. We'll worry about that later too. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold or something coming on. I don't really feel all that bad, just kind of feel like I might have a cold. Anyway, Vicky says, what rabbit makes the best meat? I don't know that there's any rabbit that's any different than any other meat. I will say domestic rabbit is different than wild rabbit. There is a different flavor to the meat, but as far as domestic rabbits, I don't know that any of them are really any different than any other as far as flavor or any of that kind of stuff goes. Some rabbits are better meat rabbits than others, though. I said I don't like Flemish Giant. One of the things I don't like about Flemish Giant, they have a very high bone to meat ratio. So even though they get great big, you don't get as much meat off of them as you would in proportion. How do I say that? There's not as much meat on them as there is in a similar sized New Zealand or California or silver fox or other kind of standard meat rabbit. They also grow incredibly slow, so it takes a long time to grow them out to processing size. If you're looking for good meat rabbits, though, you can't hardly go wrong with a good New Zealand white, a good California, a silver fox, chinchilla. That's a chinchilla rabbit, not a chinchilla. But the giant chinchillas. What else are there? There's Florida whites. There's even a standard Rex makes a pretty good meat rabbit. Not a mini Rex, a standard Rex. There's a whole lot of different rabbits out there. It's what you can find that's going to work well for you. If you can find a good purebred, rabbit, that's my suggestion to go with those. But there's a lot of different breeds of rabbits. I don't think any of them are going to taste any different than any of the others. Brandon says, planted corn on April 1st last year and grew great. It's the recommended time because of the short growing season, and we grow 75 to 80-day corn. Yeah, that makes sense. You guys probably have a much shorter one than we do. And Brandon says, we can always make a trip down. Well, you're always welcome to. You're welcome to hang out here, stay here. We can put you up somewhere. You may be sleeping on cots because I don't have extra beds, but we'll figure something out. I'd make room for you. And you guys might decide you want to move out of the Great White North and move down to, the beautiful Ozarks after you visit. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you decide not to come because of that, but I'm just picking on you. I'm sure Wisconsin is a nice place of the year or a nice place to be for like 2 or 3 months a year. And I'm just teasing. Let's see. S. McKee says, I moved my quail inside so I wouldn't be in trouble with the trailer park manager. And they didn't stop laying, went from 25 degrees to 70. Is this unusual? It's been a week plus now. It's unusual that they won't stop laying at all. Usually what you'll get is a couple of eggs out of them, for another day, maybe 2, and then they just shut down completely. But if they didn't stop, I wouldn't complain about that. Seems like they're, didn't stress them out for some reason, and who knows? But usually you make a move, you move them somewhere, especially like from one cage to another or something like that, stresses them out. They stop laying after about a day or 2. Now they'll have eggs built up in their system that they'll go ahead and lay, but then they'll shut down for like 2 weeks. But you said it's been a week plus. That seems like they're just going to continue to lay. So congratulations. Let's see. Miguel says, hey, Chris, how's it going, brother? Long time no talk. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. S.O. Swanson says, Kristen can bring the rabbits when she goes to visit Jasmine. She's not that far. Oh, yeah. If you guys are heading down there, then, yeah, you're not far at all. That's just, Jasmine, I think, it's around Ozark, somewhere right around in there. So it's not far at all. And I think it's around Ozark. Anyway, that's an hour and a half at the most away from me. Miguel says Team Coke. Tony says, hey, from Toronto. Good to see you, Tony. Thanks for joining. And Kevin, how far are you from Ava, Missouri? Not far at all. Ava is, let me look it up on the map because I get it mixed up with a couple of other ones, but it's about an hour and a half, I want to say. Let me do the search here. We'll find out. Missouri to Ava, Missouri. It says, it's a 2-hour drive. So it's a little bit further than I thought it was, but it's not that far. Where are we at here? Art. Hello, Chris. Greetings from Costa Mesa, California. Do you have a link for the waters? Thank you. Which one? I don't know which waters you're talking about. The plug-in heated waters that I have right now, or the actual the water cups that I have. Either way, both of them, I believe, let me check real quick and make sure, are in my Amazon shop. I think. Yep, I do have both of them in my Amazon shop. You just got to kind of look down a little bit. But yeah, it's all in there. So you can go check my Amazon shop, which is amazon.com/shop/slightly rednecked. Let me stick that in the link down here just in case you need that. Just a fair warning, I do make a little bit of a commission if you buy through there. It's not a lot. It doesn't cost you anything additional. But if that bothers you, then you can go you can go look them up yourself and buy them that way. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Three Stone Homestead says, you're in Southwest Missouri. So are we? We're in Carterville. Heck yeah, Carterville. I'm from Webb City. I live in Joplin now, but I went to high school in Webb City, graduated from there, grew up in Webb City. So I know Carterville very, very well. Art says, hello, Chris. Greetings from Costa Mesa, California. Do you have a link to the wall? Oh, I already read that one, didn't I? We got Michael from, is that Michael or Michelle? That's Michael, isn't it? From Sydney, Australia. Awesome. And let's see, AZ Highland Homestead. Howdy, y'all. I have our first 50 jumbo Coturnix eggs in the incubator. Should hatch the first week of April. Well, good luck with those. I hope you have a great hatch. Kevin says Living Traditions are near Ava. Yep, I knew that actually. And have New Zealand's. Not sure what they are, or not sure what they have available though. Yeah, I might have to reach out to them and see if it comes to it. I think I can probably find some a little bit closer. We've had a couple of opportunities. We've tried to kind of meet up, Kevin and Sarah there at Living Traditions, but it never worked out. So I haven't got to meet them in person yet, but I do know them. They're good people. So I may reach out to them if it comes to it. Hey, Verna's here. Good to see you, Verna. Let's see. Deeds the Freckles King says 4 days ago, my pregnant rabbit made a nest out of hay. She started bleeding. I thought she would give birth that day. It has been 4 days and still no babies. What do you suggest? Boy, that's a little bit of a concern for sure. I'm not sure exactly what to do about it necessarily, other than just watch her. What I'd be concerned about is that she had a miscarriage of some kind, and she hasn't expelled the babies yet, or if she did, she either ate them herself or something else got them. I'd give her. I don't know how many days pregnant she is. If she's around the 30-day mark, I'd give her about a week or a week and a half more. And, if she's acting all normal, everything's fine, she's eating fine, she hasn't had her babies yet, I would just assume it's either a false pregnancy, a miscarriage, or, something like that, and go ahead and rebreed her at that point. But I'd, keep a pretty close eye on her, see how she's acting. Rabbits are pretty good. It's sometimes really hard to tell if there's something wrong with them, but most of the time you can just tell by looking at their eyes. Their eyes get a little bit dull. They get a little bit lethargic. They don't want to eat as much as they normally do. You can just see that something's off. And if something's off with her, aside from taking her to a vet, I don't know what to tell you to do, honestly. It's just one of those things you got to kind of, just watch and see. Hopefully there's nothing wrong. Let's see. Verna's telling Katrina that you can render rabbit fat and find out. Let us all know how it goes. Oh, well, okay. I thought maybe you had rendered some rabbit fat. But no, I've never done it. I don't know. I don't know if it'd work. I don't know. I have my doubts, but hey, it's worth a try. You never know. Emergency prep guy says, first time breeding for both my buck and doe. He fell off 3 times. It's 2 weeks after she was due, and she did not have any babies. I haven't tried that. I haven't had that happen before. Have you? Any suggestions for me? I haven't actually, I may have had that happen, but it sounds like a false, like it just, for some reason, she didn't take. There's a number of different reasons why that could be. It could be the buck is sterile. It could be that the doe had problems. It could be, there's all kinds of different things. So I would just try again. You said it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks after she was due. That's probably a good time to go ahead and try to breed her again. Try to breed her again and see how she does. If you've got other rabbits that you've bred to that same buck and they've produced, and you have the same problem with her again where she doesn't produce, my guess would be it's a problem with the doe. It's time to look for a replacement. But, who knows? Sometimes it just doesn't work for some reason. You got to try again and everything's fine. So you said first time too, which makes me think that maybe, maybe she was a younger doe. Maybe she just wasn't ready to quite ready to breed. Just realized I need to dust my keyboard off. It's incredibly dusty. I get distracted easily. But maybe she wasn't quite ready to breed. So again, just try again. That's the best suggestion I have for that, and see how she does. Hey, Ro is here. Good to see you. Keith says, let's see. Have you had any predator problems with your chicken tractor? I was thinking about using stakes or something. I don't know what you mean by stakes exactly, what you're going to do with that, but no, haven't had any problems really. We have a fox that comes around quite frequently, and there was once or twice that he came in pretty close, but he never got into the chicken tractor. I'm moving it every day, and so far nothing's got to him. It hasn't been an issue. But I live in town too, so it may not be as big of an issue for me where it may be for you. I think if I lived, out in the country and had big problems with predators, I would invest in some electric, chicken netting, to, make a big fenced in area that I can move that tractor in, or even better yet, just make a big fenced in area with the chicken netting and let them run loose in that and coop them up at night. That'll keep anything out. Let's see. G. Michael says, question, as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. With that being said, is there anything you'd change with your rabbit or quail hutch designs? Not a lot. Pretty happy with the quail hutches, especially. They work out really well. I've got to do some repairs to one of them. The plastic I've got over the sandbox type, it's old and it's torn, and I got to replace it. That's a pretty easy fix. One thing I would change about it is what I built for the doors that close, especially on the sandbox side. It was a piece of wood that I had made for something else. So it was a slanted piece of wood. It cut at an angle. So it's like a 1x2, I think it is, that goes across the bottom. lets the door sit on. And because it's slanted, there's a gap between, because it's cut at an angle like that, there's a gap between it and the door, and it collects things pretty bad. So sand gets clogged up in there, and I have to scrape it out. But that happens on my other hutch too. It's just not as bad on the other one because it's a flat board. It's not cut at that angle. So that board that sits up there where the door sits on like that is flat, and it's pretty easy to brush off. That's the only thing that I might change about that, but it's doing good. So it's nothing that I would really consider like being big at that. And that's not, if you're going to build one, you probably wouldn't be using the same kind of board. So, I mean, that's probably not going to answer your question about changing things. No, pretty happy with the quail hutches. The rabbit shed itself, for the most part, it works out really well. The one thing I would change is I would probably, it probably doesn't need to be quite as tall as it is, but that is nice because I can put pet carriers and all kinds of things up there and not have to worry about. That's why I leave room between the top of my cages and the roof. People often ask me that. It's so I can set things up there, water, or whenever I'm getting into the quail hutch, or the nest boxes for the rabbits get stored on top of the rabbit cages, and it's all underneath the roof. So the one thing I would probably change about that is I would build it, I would move it if I could, and I probably will move it out by the quail hutch, but then I need to put walls on it or something on the back end side at least to make it a little bit more weather resistant. Tarps would probably work just fine. But right now the back of it, I don't have anything on the back. It's just the frame is all it is that holds up the rabbit cages, but it's up against basically my house. I mean, there's a gap like that between it and my house, but my house provides that wind, block on the back side of it. So that might be the only thing, but other than that, it's worked out pretty well. Diversity Love says your hands are fine. Yeah, I think they're okay. It's just still wintertime here, and they're dry, and the air is very dry. It hasn't been as bad this summer. Usually by this time, I've got my thumbs especially crack and bleed, but I've done a pretty good job of keeping the lotion on them and keeping them from going bad. So Brandon says creme d'argent rabbits, I always have a hard time with that, are good meat rabbits too. Yes, they are. You're right. Let's see. Diversity Love says, can I order a rabbit from you? I don't have any rabbits right now, but if I did, maybe. Verna says, Chris, in my small setup, I am getting 50 eggs a day. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I can believe it. They produce like crazy. Vicky says, mine played all winter, had them on the back porch. I don't know what that means exactly, but your quail played all winter on the back porch, maybe? I'm not sure. All right. S. McKee says, Katrina Krakow, I was expecting to have some time to catch up on eating the eggs I already had, but it didn't work out that way. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. I'll let you do that because I'm obviously not up to speed on that conversation. Ray says, have you ever kept splayed leg chicks if the intent was to call them anyway? I usually don't. I have had one or two maybe that recovered and, did okay. Usually I make a little bit of an effort, but if they don't respond pretty quickly to the effort to fix the splayed leg, and by effort, I mean, put them in a shot glass or something like that forces their legs underneath them and leave them there for, several hours. If they don't respond pretty quickly to that, I usually just call them and put them out of their misery because it's just, they usually end up not making it anyway. And it looks like such a miserable way to go. I just don't want to put them through that. Marshall says, I got my first egg today. Woohoo. The girls just hatched 6.5 weeks ago and they're coming along great. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Congratulations. Verna's kind of agreeing with me. I think she says they usually do not make weight if you can't repair their legs. Yeah, I would agree. And they usually don't even survive. Usually they'll hang on for like maybe a week and then they just die. Mr. Skeptical says, just put my Cornish cross outside. They're 2 weeks old and not too cold at night. Been unplugging the light during the day, so they should be fine. Well, good, nice. I don't know where you live, but it's still a little chilly here for me to work on that, but that's cool. Ray says, understood. I have one who is miraculously keeping pace with the jumbos. I don't know what we're talking about exactly. I've lost track. I can't remember, but I think that's good. So good. Let's see. Verna says, Chris, I feel if no one knows, then someone should try it and see what happens. You're talking about the rabbit fat rendering it. Yeah, you're probably right. That's a good suggestion. I mean, why not try it? Don't know. Nick Build says, hey, Chris, could I free range quail like chickens? Will the quail stop laying if I let them free range? No, but I don't know. They may stop laying, but they'll probably, I can't imagine you could free range them. No. You'll probably lose every single one of them. I mean, everything wants to eat a quail, and they're not like chickens where they're just going to hang around and come back. If you've got any kind of stray cat, stray dog, snakes, any of that kind of stuff, they're going to eat the quail, and the quail are going to leave. So I don't think you could free range them. I would. And then you said visible predators. Any ideas? I don't think you could free range them. I don't think it would work. Yeah, Verna's saying you need to keep them predator proof as they're the lowest on the food chain. Maybe not the absolute lowest, but they're down there, that's for sure. Kevin says, thanks, Chris, for all the great info over the years. Got to run. Hey, it's no problem. I understand. Thanks for stopping by, and thank you for watching the videos. I'm glad you find them helpful. Ray says, is it Eucerin cream mixed with 2% hydrocortisone cream for those hands? And then Vicky says, laid. Sorry, I'm sorry, Vicky, I'm lost. What were we talking about? Anyway, Ray, thank you for the suggestion. I actually use mostly like Gold Bond. I think it's Gold Bond Eczema or something like that. It works pretty well. I usually get one of those, I don't know what it is, about that tall, little tube of it, and that lasts me all winter long. So it works pretty well. New England Lyle says, hello from Massachusetts. Good to see you. And Rod says, hey, Chris, are you still going to do any more rabbit raising videos? I learned a lot and hope you're going to start up again. Yeah, I will. I mean, it may be a little while because I'm still looking for new rabbits. I don't have any rabbits right now. Mine aged out. I got rid of them. But yeah, I'll pick it back up. I'm not done with that. New England Lyle says, thinking about getting into rabbits. Man, our Hutch's cage is getting expensive. Yeah, you're better off building, especially if you need more than just one or two cages. You're better off probably building your cages. You can do it a little bit cheaper, quite a bit cheaper actually, than buying pre-made. Anything pre-made, and usually you're going to get way better quality building your own. Rabbit cages are not that hard to put together. I've got a video on it. It was the first video I ever posted on YouTube. So, if you go watch that, forgive me. It's a little long. It's a little drawn out. I could have got to the point a little quicker, but it was the very first video I ever did on YouTube, and lots of people have watched it. So. Robin Song. It's not Robin Song. I say that weird, don't I? Robin Song says, hey, Chris, nice to see you. Thanks. It's nice to see you too. And Andrea, good to see you. Vicky says, my quail laid all winter. There you go. Okay, so you probably had some kind of light on them. New England Lyle says, I already watched it. Ha. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry now for that. Was pretty rough, but I don't see any reason to take it down. But Vicky says, my quail laid all winter. Was the ones you said they okay. Now I'm with you. I'm following. You said they played on the porch. You meant laid on the porch all winter long. So, yeah, cool. Ray says, I use your PVC cages for your quail, like the PVC stacking cages I made. Those worked out pretty well. I've still got them. I don't use them anymore. They're just sitting back there, but still got them. They actually worked out pretty well. S.O. Swanson says, if y'all could hit that thumbs up, let's boost these numbers for Chris. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Vicky says, yes, LOL. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I answer so many comments and I go through them so fast sometimes that, whenever I've answered a question, there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm already on, on my side, I'm already on and answered 2 or 3 more comments before you've heard my answer to your question. And then you respond to what I said. And by that time I'm, talking to somebody else. I don't even have any idea what we were talking about anymore. It's hard to keep up sometimes. I apologize when I get lost, but Brandon says your rabbit cage video is a good video. I don't know about that. I could have done, I think, a much better job, a little bit more concise, not drawn out quite so much. But hey, you live and you learn, right? All right. Look at that. We're out of comments. I made it through them all. That doesn't happen very often. Always should have something planned out to talk about during these times. It's Yeah, Katrina thinks it's a good one too. I don't know about that, but anyway. Emergency Prep Guy says, have you ever thought about getting honeybees? I got some for the first time a year ago, and it's kind of fun. I did think about getting honeybees at one time. I still consider it every once in a while, but it's a pretty expensive thing to get into, and I don't know. I just haven't done it yet. I don't know if I want to make that commitment or not. One more thing to do. I like honey quite a bit, but what you get from the honeybees themselves, just having them, is, I don't know that it like I said, it's pretty expensive, and I think there's a big learning curve, but who knows? Maybe I'll do it. Verna says, Chris, on the rabbit fat rendering, I would freeze the fat from each kill until I had enough process. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth doing just one rabbit. You'd have to have more than that for sure. Bryce says, hey, first time in the live. Just wanted to say you're like 90% of the reason I got the confidence to buy Quail. Well, awesome. I'm glad that you find the videos helpful. Thanks for letting me know that. And thank you for watching. Ray says, J-clips are the way to go when repairing cages after a rather devastating dog attack. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I build my rabbit cages with J-clips. S. McKee says, what kind of things do you keep in your animal first aid box? Not a whole lot, honestly, because there's a lot of things that I can, use that we use for ourselves. I can use on rabbits or quail for that matter. Antibiotic ointment is a good thing to have around. Don't use any with pain reliever in them on your animals. Make sure it doesn't have pain reliever, but that's a good one to have around. Other than that, I usually keep some olive oil, mineral oil, vegetable oil, something like that around, because rabbits, they get ear mites pretty regularly, and that's easy to treat with a little bit of food grade oil. Maybe that's about it, really. Not a whole lot. So most things that I can treat myself are going to be, treated with, like, you figure like wounds or things like that, clean it out, antibiotic ointment. That's about it. So I don't need much else. And if it gets really serious, I'm probably not a whole lot I can do anyway. These are, meat animals. I'm not taking them to the vet or anything like that. So there's not a whole lot I can do. And I hate to think of trying to hold a rabbit down while I stitch it up or something like that. That would be a hideous thing to do. So I don't keep, there's not a whole lot that you really need. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to clip rabbit nails, some clippers for that. I don't typically clip my rabbit nails, but sometimes I could see why there would be a reason you might want to. What else? So, some blue coat or something like that. That's a good wound sealer, wound treatment. Let's see. Maybe some, like infant gas drops. Those are good to use to treat, like weaning enteritis or bloat or something like that in a rabbit. But, I don't really keep those on hand because I can usually just go pick them up if I need them, and I very seldom ever need them. So anyway, there's not a whole lot that I do. Root Hog says, hey, I've learned a lot about the rabbits from you and wanted to say thank you. Well, thank you so much, Root Hog. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that. And Terry wants to know, what is the best meat rabbit? It's the one that you can get a hold of. Sometimes they're hard to find really good meat rabbits, but there are a ton of different breeds of meat rabbits. Well, I say a ton. Checking the time, make sure we're not over time. There's quite a few different breeds of meat rabbits. So you've got, your standards are going to be like your New Zealand whites, your Californias, your silver foxes, the cream d'Argents. I always have a hard time with that name. What else? Giant chinchilla. Those are going to be probably your standard, even standard Rex. I said that earlier too. It's hard to go. It's really hard to beat a good New Zealand white, a good California. Silver fox are right up there with them too. All those, they're really good meat rabbits. As far as the best one goes, one with a good temperament, try to get purebreds if you can. You're going to get better results than you will from a mixed breed that you pick up like in a poultry swap or something like that. But any of them are going to do just fine. S.O. Swanson says, so besides QuailCon, what big plans do you have for 2022? I don't know yet. We're going to have to find out. The way gas prices have gone, I can't afford to do a whole lot, I don't think, but we'll see. Ray says QuailCon would be nice, hoping to score a Maverick to drive there. Okay. I don't know what that means exactly, but cool. Gary says, hello, Chris, and all the Quail friends and family from North Carolina. Hello to you. Oh, Verna says, but blue coat is not advisable for meat animals. Oh, well, that's a good point, Verna. It's a good wound treatment, but you may not want to use it on any animals that you're planning on eating. 3 Stone Homestead says, we're waiting on quail eggs from Brandy at Brandon from Whiskey Tango Farms that will have several colors, and any ideas on how to keep them separate in the brooder. I have separated quail out in the brooder before. I used a piece of, do I have it still? Basically, like here, I've got something. You can do a lot of different ways. I just made little trays with hardware cloth, and that kept them, like whenever they started to hatch, that basically kept them in this area so they didn't get out of this area. I've also, I don't know what that is, a piece of plastic I need to throw away. You can also just put like a piece of cardboard. I've run a piece of cardboard right down the middle of the incubator and just kind of made it long enough to where it basically just shoved down in there, and that kept them separated on 2 different sides. You can do it a lot of different ways. S. McKee says, I used antibiotic ointment on my quail roo's head, and the other quail stopped picking on him from the smell alone. I don't know if it's the smell that does that, because from what I understand, birds don't have much of a sense of smell, if any. But for some reason, it kept them off of him anyway. It's probably the taste. They probably tried to peck on him and tasted it and was like, that tastes nasty. Dylan says, tapping in from South Louisiana. I got my first litter and quail eggs this week. Awesome. Congratulations on that. Oh, Ray says a Ford Maverick truck. Okay, that makes sense. I'm not a Ford guy. I'm sorry. I didn't know what that was. Gary, I'm planning on trying to drive to QuailCon this year, but like I said, with gas prices, I don't know that I can afford it. We're going to have to see. I mean, I was filling my tank up today, and it wasn't even a completely full tank. It was just 20 gallons. It was a little over $80. Crazy high. Gary says, bought a 11300 Little Giant. There we go. You used a Little Giant. Could you tell me the pros and cons of it? Well, I don't know if there's a whole lot of cons. I mean, just like any incubator, it's gonna, don't necessarily trust the thermostat on the incubator. Make sure you get external thermometers to verify, how accurate it is, and make adjustments based on those other thermometers. Make sure they're accurate and calibrated first, of course. Other than that, I mean, the pros are, if you have a problem, Miller Manufacturing, the company that makes them, is great customer service. I did have a thermostat go out on mine. I had it for several years at that point, and they, I called the company. They didn't ask me like, when did you get it? Anything. They just said, okay, and shipped me a brand new thermostat like 2 days, 3 days. So, that's a pretty good customer service. I like that about them. And I've been using that incubator for, good grief, years. I mean, years, for a long time. It's hatched thousands. Well, maybe not that. Yeah, probably 1,000 or more, quail out of it. And it's still going strong. So it works. There's nothing wrong with it. Angel says, hey, Chris, like your content. It's very informational. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, Gary wants to know about hot spots or cold spots. I don't have any huge problems with that I know of. Of course, I have the forced air kit. It has a fan inside, and I think that probably helps with the hot spots and cold spots, but I haven't noticed a big problem with it. It seems to work just fine for me as far as regulating the heat. I get pretty good hatch rates if I really, make the effort to, clean it, keep my eggs clean and do all the stuff that I, talk about in my improving your hatch rate videos. If I do all that, I can get, 90% hatch rate out of it. Let's see. Terry says, I seen the video the other day. Can I ask where you got the cedars at? The cedar, what is that? What are we talking about? I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. I'm not sure which video we're talking about. Ray says, Brado incubator, Barato. There we go. Incubator is very nice. I use the Real 24. I've heard good things about those. I'm not super familiar with them. Let me look that up too, just so I can look into it again later. They look kind of cool. There we go. That's the one I thought it was. I think the only thing about those, they don't hold very many eggs as far as I remember. They only hold like 50 or 60 eggs or something like that, but who knows? Yeah, Katrina's got a good suggestion for you too, Gary. She says you can test that by running the incubator and moving a thermometer around. Give it several hours for each spot before reading it. That's a good idea. The seed starter I got, which Katrina says, I think they're talking about the seed starter you got. Oh, and Ray says 96 quail. That's not bad. That's actually more than I thought. I'm not sure what seed starter I got where you put the garden seeds in. Are you talking about the arrow gardens? You watched my video from the other day with these arrow gardens back here? Yeah, those are, it's an arrow garden. I mean, the seed starting kit that goes on it that, gives you more spots to start them in and all that. That you can just buy that from Arrow Garden, or you can buy it from Amazon or whatever. You just look up your model and buy it. It was like $20 to get the little tray that goes in the seed starting kit there. If you're looking, like, we grow like lettuce and herbs and things like that in the wintertime in that, or we did this year. These are fairly new to me. I've only had them for about a year. But those Arrow Gardens, they're pretty expensive, but you can find them. Like, if you just keep your eyes out, you can find them. And occasionally they'll go pretty regularly. They'll go on sale and you can get them a lot cheaper. Sometimes find them in clearance aisles at like Walmart and some of those kinds of things and pick one up. The little sprout model I've got, the smaller one, that one came with a seed starting kit with it. So it came with that extra tray and those sponges and all that. The other one I had to buy, but it was only like $15, $20 to buy the seed starting kit that goes with it. Let's see. Sierra Flame says, I had a first-time mom rabbit that had 6 babies, but stepped on most. Any advice on how to get her to not do on the next litter? Well, chances are, I mean, it's a first-time mom. I don't think there's anything special you need to do. Chances are she's going to do just fine on the second litter. You're not going to have that problem again. It's pretty common. First-time moms will have some kind of issue. They just don't know what to do quite yet, but they figure it out. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just try again. You're probably not going to have that issue again. Tara says, is it rare to have a Hemaphrodite quail? Yeah, I would say it's probably rare. There's a rose-breasted quail, but not the same as the other males in the lower region, and too much male interest wanting to mate it. Yeah, I doubt it's a hermaphrodite. But yeah, who knows? It could be some kind of weird genetic mutation where the colors are just not right or something. But yeah, I doubt that there's any kind of hermaphrodite or anything like that. I would say that's pretty rare. Glenn says, quail lockdown, 14 days or 15 days? Yes. Yeah, either one, honestly. I usually do day 15, but that also depends. What do you call day 15? Is the day you set the eggs day 1 or day 0? So either one is going to be fine. Don't stress about that too much. If I usually count the day I set the eggs as day 1. So if you're counting the day you set the eggs as day 0, that would be day 14 for you. And, I don't want to go too much past that because I have had issues. Quail usually start hatching on day 18, but I've had them start hatching out a little bit earlier than that. And I've had times where they actually hatched while the egg was still in the egg turner. And that's a little bit of a difficult thing to deal with. But, either one's going to be fine. You can do either one. Tommy says, hey, from Ohio, we love your channel. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. How are we doing on time? We got just a minute or 2 left. We'll see if we can get through a few. Hey, Jasmine's here. We were talking about you earlier. Says, I missed you again. That's all right. Hopefully next week we'll be on. You can catch up then. I said we were talking about you. That sounds weird, doesn't it? No, we were talking about Brandon trying to bring rabbits to me. I said, making a trip down to Missouri would be a long way. And they said something about Kristen coming to visit you. And I said, oh, that is pretty close then. We're not far off. Yeah, Jasmine says, my brain's not with the time change still. Yeah, I know how that goes. I'm actually caught up now, but I'll tell you what, the first day or 2 afterwards, that was kind of rough. Let's see. Verna says, I look at the day as I set the eggs and the second week at the same day, I put them in lockdown. In other words, it is Monday the 7th. Lockdown is Monday the 21st. Okay. Robin Song says, Robin Song, like tweet, you had it right. You're also the only live I listen to. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Not that I'm the only one, but I appreciate you listening to me. Ray says hoop, coops, and quail. Another chat. I don't know what that means exactly. Is that like the name of somebody else's broadcast or something? I'm not sure what that is. And Three Stone Homestead, thank you for your advice. I really appreciate it. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for joining the live broadcast. Unfortunately, it is that time. I'm going to have to wrap this one up. But one more from Glenn says, I have 20 half New Zealand if you want in Joplin. I really appreciate it. 20 of them. That's a lot of them. But if they're only half New Zealand, I'm really looking for some purebred rabbits. I'll keep in mind, though, that if it does get down, get to the point where I just can't find anything else, then I'll hit you up for sure. But right now, I'm really looking for like purebred New Zealands. Talking about keeping quail in hoop coops. Oh, okay. We'll do that next time probably because I got to wrap this one up. My wife is making dinner. Got to go have some dinner and spend some time with her before it's time to go to bed and get up for work in the morning. So thanks everybody for joining tonight. I always look forward to this time we get to spend kind of hanging out and chatting. And hopefully we'll see you guys all next week. Right now it looks like I'll be available, but you never know until the day comes. So thanks again. God bless every one of you and have a good night. Goodbye.